we later learned that this consulate official working for the Israeli government was sending text messages to Scott Adams, of all people, the Dilbert cartoonist, saying they were expecting my father to furnish this $25 million payment, and that would be evidence of my consciousness of guilt.
For the American FBI agent grabbed on an Iranian island maybe 18 or 19 years ago.
And I don't know anything about this person. I don't know if the person's dead or alive, but it was troubling and concerning to me that someone who was getting paid by the Israeli government was involved in a criminal shakedown of a U.S. congressman.
Some of you might remember that Matt Gaetz was accused of some pretty horrific things in the last days of his congressional career, involving Jeffrey Epstein type behavior. And it turns out that, of course, the Department of Justice did not pursue any of these allegations that were being made against Matt Gaetz because it was all made up by Israeli intelligence, specifically by the if you can believe it, the Israeli embassy in the United States, their top media guy, the PR man for the Israeli embassy in the United States, was blackmailing Matt Gaetz's father for $25 million to try and, I don't know what they wanted to do. They wanted to allegedly go and free some U.S. spy that got caught up and arrested in Iran, and they needed $25 million to go free him. I'm sure they were going to siphon millions off the top in the process, because I don't think it would cost $25 million to go free a random person. And frankly, I don't think $25 or $50 million would have helped them free this U.S. spy in Iran. That's kind of a difficult thing to get yourself out of whenever you find yourself in a position like that, I would imagine. But this now has come out as a result of Matt Gaetz appearing on the Tucker Carlson broadcast. So let's take a look at this. Matt Gaetz tells Tucker Carlson that Israel was behind the blackmail op that accused him of trafficking underage girls. Let's take a listen.
For us, the shocking moment was when my father, who's a prominent person in our community, got outreach from someone he had never met that said that there were pictures and images of me with underage prostitutes, and my dad needed to meet with these people right away. And so my dad, somewhat surprised and concerned, goes and talks to these people and says, "What in the world are you talking about?" And they said, "Well, Mr. Gaetz, we need $25 million from you to go and rescue a spy that is being held in Iran. And if you do that, we can make these things about your son go away."
Okay, first weird thing that comes up in this story. Why on earth, if you have found out that a sitting member of Congress, not some random, not some nobody, but a very influential sitting member of Congress, close with the former president, had allegedly done that with underage girls, why would you just not give that directly to the DOJ, air that out in the media? Why would you not do that? Why would you go to the guy's father to say, hey, we need $25 million or else maybe Matt Gaetz is going to have some problems, right? Weird. Because that is actually just definition blackmail. Definition blackmail. All right, but it gets weirder.
Which was crazy and wild. We did what any reasonable people would do. We went to the FBI and said that we were being extorted by these folks with their false claims. And we later learned that this consulate official working for the Israeli government was sending text messages to Scott Adams, of all people, the Dilbert cartoonist, saying they were expecting my father to furnish this $25 million payment, and that would be evidence of my consciousness of guilt.
For the American FBI agent grabbed on an Iranian island maybe 18 or 19 years ago.
And I don't know anything about this person. I don't know if the person's dead or alive, but it was troubling and concerning to me that someone who was getting paid by the Israeli government was involved in a criminal shakedown of a U.S. congressman. And someone went to jail for this. The person who conveyed this message to my father pled guilty to the attempted.
Someone went to jail, but Matt Gaetz is out of Congress. True truth teller on many issues. He's out of Congress, and he was blocked from becoming the attorney general. You guys remember that, right? He was supposed to be the attorney general, and then, magically, he gets dropped. Magically, he has to bow out of the approval process before the Senate. Weird.
Fraud, and surprisingly, there was never really an effort to figure out what the government of Israel's involvement was in this matter.
But you know that the government of Israel was involved because this was an Israeli government official who was involved in this?
Yes, a person who, his name's Novak. I think he currently works for Real America's Voice, and he sent text messages.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the name of the official. And he sent messages to Scott Adams saying that he was involved in this scheme that was later deemed a criminal scheme.
Jake Novak. Remember that name. We're going to circle back around. But he was the Israeli embassy's PR guy working for the Israeli embassy, which he does admit. And he has addressed this on his Twitter. Oh, very odd how he chose to address this. But he was the one that messaged Scott Adams, not only admitting that they were expecting Matt Gaetz's father to give the 25 mil to disappear this story, but also he admits that he was involved in this whole ring of, blackmail over horrendous allegations.
To shake down my family.
So what happened
to these false allegations? He got a television show.
Come on,
promoted.
Now. I didn't know any of this. I'm not playing dumb. I really didn't know that. Have you ever talked to him about it?
I have attempted to figure out, because obviously I still have a lot of unanswered questions about why he was working for a foreign government and trying to shake down my family.
Well, what's the answer, do you think?
Well, some have shared with me their concern that this was a consequence of some of the votes and positions I took in the Congress. I represented one of the most military-heavy districts in the entire country.
I think number one.
Yeah, right up there. And I saw these wars in the Middle East that my neighbors and friends had fought in as unworthy of our best, unworthy of the disruptions in parenting and the divorces and the injuries.
Suicides, yeah.
And so I took the position that we should be less entangled in these things. And I think that really shocked a number of people who thought I would be more of a neocon coming from the district I came from. Heaven
forbid, right? You say maybe we shouldn't get ourselves involved in another endless war in the Middle East. Maybe we shouldn't put the former Al-Qaeda, ISIS leader of Iraq and Syria into the presidency of the entire nation of Syria. Maybe that's actually a bad idea. And then this happens to you. You have a foreign government use, illegal agents in the U.S. who will blackmail your father. Not only were they going to blackmail the father for $25 million, but the $25 million being sent was going to be the admission of guilt. Only reason why Matt Gaetz is here today and speaking out and still has a show and is, still a respected member of somewhat polite society is because he stood his ground in the face of this Israeli blackmail racket. If he gave the 25 mil, they were going to use that as proof that, why on earth would you have given the 25 mil if you were innocent? That's a lot of money.
And I think that, with like the Israel influence operation, it's always fire and ice. It's always outreach followed by consequence, and then outreach and then consequence. Even to this day, there was someone who just appeared and offered to pay me a bunch of money to go to Israel and give a bunch of speeches. And, you decline those offers when you don't feel they're appropriate. And then lo and behold, it's like Greenblatt on the other side of the operation calling you an anti-Semite.
This just happened to you?
Yeah.
So pretty amazing. The most important part in the text messages that Jake Novak, the Israeli embassy PR guy, sent to Scott Adams was this right here, admitting that he was involved.
The real documents do not extort. And we only asked for 25 million as an estimate at first. We came way down.
That was a message that he sent to Scott Adams, explaining their position that, we were trying to work with Matt Gaetz and his father. We came way down. Who's we? Who's we? This is Jake Novak. Who's we that he's referring to? That would include him and others. He works at the Israeli embassy in the U.S.
You don't have to read in between the lines here. Jake Novak was involved in the planning of Project Homecoming. He was apprised in real time as the criminal overture to my father occurred. He was even involved in the pricing of the extortion amount. We came way down. Jake Novak was not a spectator to Project Homecoming. Jake Novak is a media relations professional. Every media outlet in America should be asking him this question. Who the hell is we? We asked for 25 million as an estimate at first. We came way down. Is we the government of Israel? I honestly don't know.
I think it's quite clear. I think it's really quite clear. Keep in mind, this guy, this anti-American, Israel first piece of shit, Jake Novak, he made this very glossy video. It's actually quite simple. I had nothing to do with this whole thing. Made this video, but he blocked Matt Gaetz first before he posted that. Matt Gaetz posted this, said, "This is Jake Novak. He blocked me after being involved in a scheme to shake me down while he was working for the government of Israel." So let's listen to what Mr. Novak has to say, because when you listen to the first bit of this video, it makes it sound like we almost got the wrong Jake Novak. Oh, it was a different Jake Novak. That's almost what he makes it sound like, but couldn't be further from the truth.
Hey everybody, I'm Jake Novak, and I know that my name's getting bandied about on the internet right now on social media, so I just wanted to make a very clear response and answer any questions people might have. For those of you who know me, you know it's outrageous to even think that I would be involved in any kind of extortion plot, and of course I never was. There was, however, for those of you who are wondering what this is all about, there was indeed an attempt to extort Don Gaetz, the father of the former Congressman Matt Gaetz, and I guess by extension the congressman himself, by somebody else who I don't know, never met, and he was convicted.
No, never met, not involved. Makes it sound like, oh, it was a different Jake Novak. Me, Jake Novak, I never worked at the Israeli embassy. He's like, oh, it sounds so insane that I'd ever be a part of this. It's like, bro, you worked at the state of genocide embassy in the United States. You worked at Mossad's embassy in the United States. Maybe you were Mossad or Mossad.
Convicted of that, and I believe he went to jail or I guess federal prison for that. Not me, and not a person that I know, a very good friend of mine from college, Bob Kent, who's a very great patriot and Air Force veteran. He did ask, underline, ask Don Gaetz for help in an effort to try to rescue an American that he believes is being held in Iran, but there was never any blackmail involved or threat. Unfortunately for Bob, and I guess indirectly for me, at the same time Bob was making that request, somebody else was making a demand in the form of blackmail connected to the same story. He was basically piggybacking off of Bob's good work, and he has done some work to rescue people in the past. But just to make it clear, I've never spoken to Don Gaetz, emailed him, talked to him in any way. Same thing with Matt Gaetz, never had any contact with them whatsoever. In fact, I've never actually said anything negative publicly about Matt Gaetz or his father either. I did, however, didn't make a mistake.
He's never said anything bad about Matt Gaetz.
I did text Scott Adams and Mike Ceranovich back in 2021 about the accusations that I had heard about Matt Gaetz. I did not say whether they were true or not. I did say that they had been told to me, and I was told by experts that they sounded credible. And I probably shouldn't have done that, especially while I was working as a contractor, outside contractor, media advising, and working, yes, as an independent contractor for the Israeli consulate at the time in New York, where I worked for a year and a half. But I'm a sixth-generation American, an American citizen, and I did nothing wrong. I never extorted anyone.
I'm a sixth generation of America. I love this country. I totally, I'm an American patriot. It's like, bro, doesn't matter how long you've been here. Really, I mean, it's a nice fact. It's a cool thing. 6 generations. Okay. Well, I'll tell you this. My family came to America on the Mayflower, right? Yeah. I would never betray any one of my ancestors who sailed on the Mayflower, who fought in the American Revolution, who fought in the Civil War and won, who fought in World War II. I would never betray any of them by working for a government as parasitic and genocidal and demonic as the state of Israel. Any goodwill you had in American politics for being a 6th generation American immediately flies out the window when you prostitute yourself to the genocidal freaks in Israel. Simple as that.
Never threatened anyone. Unfortunately for me and my friend Bob Kent, somebody did at the same time. And I don't know if there's a deliberate mistaking of this thing, because at the time I was working very brief. I just started working for the Israeli consulate. I don't know. I know there's a lot of people who just hate anything connected to Israel, and I get it. I understand why people do that. I don't love it, but I understand. But in my case, I just want everyone to know. I've never publicly said anything bad about Matt Gaetz. I've never extorted anyone, and I never had any contact with either him or his father, and neither has anybody that I know of ever.
So here's what he sent. This is Jake Novak. These are his messages to Scott Adams and Mike Ceranovich. Scoop, I can't report. Right? Remember when he said that he was working for the Israeli embassy doing media stuff at the time? And he said, I never said anything about Matt Gaetz publicly. Rep Gaetz is the subject of a secret grand jury probe with minors and possibly murder conspiracy. I trust the source. Charges, accusations, apparently very credible. The allegations against him do not sound credible. This is what Scott Adams said in response. Jake Novak writes, I don't want to believe them, but my source says it looks bad from closer in. Scott says, I'm betting against it, but the extortion counterclaim sounds credible. Has witnesses, apparently. And Jake Novak writes back, the backstory is this is screwing up my efforts to free Bob Levinson. Gaetz's dad was secretly finding us. Or secretly funding us is what he meant to say. So I'm very much wanting this to be untrue. I've got a commando team leader friend of mine nervously waiting for wire transfers to clear. So this is Jake Novak saying Gaetz's dad was secretly funding us, an effort that he was leading to free an American spy in Iran. Allegedly, that's the story. So if Gaetz's dad was funding them, and this is screwing it up, how did he not have any contact with Gaetz's father? The only plausible explanation would be really that this was something that Jake Novak was either not leading, or he lied, he wasn't actually leading this, or he was helping lead this effort. But as a result of that, he couldn't be directly tied to the extortion claim asking for the $25 million. Last set of tweets here. He says, the real documents do not extort, and we only asked for $25 million as an estimate at first. We came way down. Scott says, you think his screenshots are altered? That would be the world's dumbest play. The sender or recipient has the original. We do. But he admits that we came way down on the ask. So someone he was working with came way down on the ask for the $25 million from Matt Gaetz's father, which is clearly implicating him in this whole thing, implicating himself in the effort to free the American spy, and implicating himself to try and get that $25 million via blackmail, extortion, and also he was working for the Israeli embassy. So Vishbura, who works with Matt Gaetz, says, you haven't answered the single important operative question. Who is the we you reference in the text messages you sent to Scott Adams? Very fair. Very fair. Who is we? Well, I would not be surprised if we is the state of Israel or Mossad, or, an accumulation of various three-letter agencies and foreign spy networks that were working to not only get Matt Gaetz out of Congress, get money from his dad, and also maybe try to free this American spy in Iran, but maybe not, because, probably not going to happen, actually, no matter how much money you have. And this was all an effort to silence and prosecute Matt Gaetz for crimes that doesn't seem as though there is any proof that he committed. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.